All right, so here we are back at R&D Brewing for our second check-in on this birth of a brewery here in Savannah, Georgia. And we're just here. Well, we're going to find out what's happened now in the past. It's been about a month or so since we've been here. From what you can see behind us, clearly there are walls and some new things have happened. So, Kevin, what's been happening?
Well, last time you guys were here, I think we had broken everything down and we started to rebuild again. So, biggest challenges that have happened in the last 30 days have been getting contractors to show up and do their thing and do it on time and manage schedules. What happens first, what happens second, getting things lined up. One of the things that we did is we spray foam the entire ceiling to try and insulate the building. And the first spray was not to the appropriate depth. And after 3 weeks of calling to try and get the company back to finish the job, they finally showed up. And so that was probably the biggest challenge with the contractors, is getting everybody to come in and do it right the first time. And when you can't get it done, it pushes everybody else back.
Right.
But the walls are back up. We've got a 1 foot wide slit trench trough drain that's been installed in the floor. We've got a concrete pad behind us that's going to serve as kind of the pedestal for our meeting table with a small bar coming off the wall. Ducts have been installed, windows are all installed, garage doors installed and insulated. So really at this point, as soon as we're done painting everything, there's going to be some minor plumbing to be done before I can start to brew some beer.
Great.
And so what I wanted to do today was to bring some chocolate strawberry IPA to share with you guys.
Exactly. I was just about to say, if anyone's curious what we have in our hands today, it is a chocolate strawberry IPA, and as we've been sort of getting acclimated here and reintroducing ourselves, we've been tasting this. I gotta say, it's pretty good. Lee, what are you tasting?
Yeah, I mean, these are 3 words you don't hear in the same sentence a lot. Chocolate, strawberry, IPA. That's something, you know, with chocolate, you're thinking a much more robust malty profile in a beer. With the strawberry, with a fruit beer, you may be thinking something opposite, like a wheat beer, something that's summertime, a refresher. And what this does is it creates a really interesting mix. I mean, you can obviously, the body of the beer is fairly dark, but in terms of the flavor profile, you get a lot of that chocolate cake up front, kind of a bready chocolate, nice and malty and rich. But on the back end, you get the succinct bitterness of hops, which is a really nice, it does push it into that IPA category at that point.
What is kind of interesting to me is, as I've been drinking this lately, is I get that kind of sweet, like milk chocolatey character while mixing with the strawberries, and on the back end it almost turns into mixing with those hops like a dark baker's chocolate. Yeah. So it's got that dry kind of hoppy taste to it. So you almost get like the sweet decadent, and then a little bit of that kind of like bite that you would get in, like, let's say, a 70% cacao chocolate or something like that. So it's actually an incredible, which we talked about in the first episode about. Doing more creative beers, not doing just regular, IPAs and whatnot. And this is very much outside the box. I haven't seen anyone doing anything like this, and it's a really incredible beer.
Going into the chocolate strawberry IPA, I think, just in our conversation since we've been here, is that as the temperature of the beer changes, so does the flavor of the beer. And for a lot of people out there, I think it's important to understand that the beers coming out of the fridge, especially with an IPA, need to come to a little more room temperature to really be thoroughly enjoyed as they're meant to be enjoyed.
I think that's true. A lot of things, anything really with chocolate flavor, I think you drink it right, you drink it fast, quick, you kind of miss some of the subtleties that come out as it warms out a little bit.
This is not a diet beer.
No, it is not.
This is a dessert beer. Not a diet beer.
As I made 5 gallons of this beer, and if you've been to the grocery store and you've seen the it's like an ice cream pail size canister of Hershey's dark chocolate powder. An entire can of that chocolate powder went into 5 gallons of this beer. So,
and you can taste it.
It's not lost.
No, this was added at knockout, and to make sure that we didn't burn off any of that chocolate flavor.
Yeah.
And during the prior to fermentation, even post fermentation, I was really nervous, because as I'm shifting the beers from container to container, I was getting a lot of that trub and the powder in there, and I was really worried that this was not going to turn out. But as everything settled down and prevailed, I think it came out really nice.
Yeah, and as it warms, you do get a little bit of that strawberry. I mean, the strawberry is very subtle in this, but if you're patient and you wait for it, get it a little bit on the nose when it's fresh, but it
Yep.
definitely comes out in the flavor profile a little bit as you let it sit, which is nice. Nice little surprise on the back end of that.
Yep.
Absolutely. So last time we were here, we also were saying that you thought maybe by this point in time you'd be brewing in here, and obviously from what we're seeing, that hasn't happened yet. And some of the pitfalls, like you were saying, of contractors and timelines, and best intentions and what you think. So are you have a new date that you're thinking that you're going to be, if not for the public, at least for yourself, be actually brewing on a system in here?
Well, based on where we're at today, I think that as soon as this painting is done, there's no other installations to be done. So I can clean this place up and I can start to brew beer in here. From a licensing perspective, what I learned is I was trying to get ahead of the game and go downtown and talk to folks, and I've met with the director of the Department of Revenue, I met with the fire marshal, I met with those folks to figure out all the different coding work that needs to get done. But what I want to do is get my business tax certificate and start to work towards that. Unfortunately, I can't get any of that done until I have a certificate of occupancy. So I can't get a certificate of occupancy until all the work's done. So the challenges here are you have to spend all the time and energy and money to get your space to where you need it to be to brew beer, and then hope that you get approved in the space and it'll get approved for the licensing. So the fact that the contractors network has taken longer puts me behind on my licensing timeline. But I still believe that I should be licensed to brew beer out of this location before September.
Nice. Very good.
Yeah, I mean, so many people think that all the hurdles about starting a brewery are about getting the money, getting the equipment, getting a space. But we've talked to lots of people, and when you're doing this, it really comes down to learning the local system.
Yeah.
And every municipality is going to have different little rules in different places that if you want to do it right, if you want to do it by the book, you've got to take those meetings, you've got to talk to people, or else you're going to get ahead of yourself, and then that only makes it worse later when you're that far behind when you thought you were almost there.
And what I found is the going to the folks downtown, going to the city council folks, the Department of Revenue folks, the inspectors, going early and introducing your idea and your concept and what your plans are is much better for you and for them in the long run. They don't like to be challenged. They don't want to have somebody pop up and put them on the spot for something.
Right.
But they certainly want to help. And what I've learned from the Department of Revenue is those guys really want to foster new businesses in town, but they can only do so much. So when you come in early and often and let them know what you're doing and how your plans are coming along, that prepares them to better help you.
And also makes you look a lot more professional, like you got your stuff together, and they're going to be much more willing perhaps to cut you a break or work with you later on because they've known you for a longer time.
It just prepares you for what their requirements are going to be. And they're more than happy to come and do preliminary inspections or pre-inspections to make sure that you know ahead of time before you spend all that money the types of things that you're going to need to do. Because the worst is you come in, you spend all your money, you've done all these things you think are right, they come in and tell you this, and this other thing need to be changed, and you get frustrated and they get frustrated and nobody's happy at that point. So I think coming in early and often to help those folks understand and work with you is going to benefit you in the long run.
Well, that speaks to the importance of a business plan as
Yeah.
well, because you can go in and you can pitch your idea properly instead of just going in and say, "Oh, I want to brew some beer."
Yeah.
You've got to help. lay
And
out ahead of time.
you can very easily get overwhelmed with the things that happen or the tasks of the day. So that business plan helps as well as just putting the calendar down and writing everything on the calendar, visualizing all the things that you need to do and make sure that you can work in parallel with what you can work in parallel, and also know, the old project plan deal is, what task is dependent on the other task getting complete, and it's very helpful to make you as efficient as possible.
Has anything changed in terms of the layout from when we talked last time? Is everything still going to be in the same place, same office location, same entryway, same location for your setup?
Yep, everything that I planned from the start is happening as planned here. And what's not, you can't appreciate being in this space is the hop garden that I've built in the back is coming along real well. I've planted Cascade, Centennial, Hood, and Willamette hops back there, and I've got a few, I planted them probably the last week of April, and I've got a few that are probably 10, 12 feet tall at this point, and growing. So I'm really excited to see what comes of growing some hops in the south. If I can keep things local, I'm going to keep things local. I've been talking to a gentleman named Philip Jennings who runs Loam Farms, which is about an hour and a half out of Savannah. And he does a lot of hydroponics, and he's interested in finding out if there's a hops market or if there's a barley market in Georgia. So I'm going to work to try and keep all the ingredients local that we can.
And your herb garden is growing up as well with some great things that you may be able to incorporate some beers here. And your bees are pretty active out there too. So that's
Yeah, the bees are active. We hope to get some, once I start brewing and I have spent grains, I hope to put spent grains out for the bees to feed on and influence the honey in that way. Bring that honey back into the beer, which would be a nice little circular feed there for that, and make some malty honey, which would be very interesting. And I've got some pineapple sage out there. I have to work on that one a little bit to see how I can incorporate some pineapple sage into a beer.
Well, thank you for letting us come back and visit you again and get an update on how things have been moving along for you. We hope to be able to join you in a few weeks too and get another update.
Excellent.
all right, guys.
Well, I hope by the time you guys come back, we'll be brewing in here, not just drinking, but brewing here.
Well, I hope we'll be drinking too.
And I'm working on the chocolate line. I'm working on a peanut butter chocolate stout. So
Excellent.
we should have something for you
All
guys.
right, we'll be
Oh,
ready
we're
for that.
definitely coming
Sounds
back.
good.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.